Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dave Montgomery on the Lions. Former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit. Oh, man. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Only Football Podcast. We got a breaking story right now, and I know for a lot of you, this probably isn't breaking news because this story was released hours ago. But, of course, the moment I left to go to the gym, this story breaks. Speaking of Jim, Jim Harbaugh has been hired as the Los Angeles Chargers' next head coach. This sucks, man. This sucks. All right. It's been an uphill battle. As you guys know, I'm a Denver Broncos fan, and there's a couple teams in our division that we could always say, don't worry about them. We got to worry about the Chiefs, and that's it. If we can get past the Chiefs, we're not going to take the Raiders and Josh McDaniels seriously. And then they fire Josh McDaniels, and Antonio Pierce does a good job, and we go, they're not going to make the right decision and hire Antonio Pierce, and they do. And then the Chargers, they bring in Harbaugh. He's not going to take this job. Come on, this is a formality. And they agreed to it. What's going to be a 6-year deal. What I'm seeing, it's going to be a 6-year deal. That's a long time. So immediately, the AFC West becomes even more difficult. And do you remember just a couple of years ago, right, when everybody was saying the AFC West is going to be the most difficult division in the NFL, especially when Russell Wilson got traded, right? We didn't know that he was going to fall apart, seemingly. We thought that this was going to be an insane division. We got the Raiders, that were on the up and up. The year before, they were playing the Chargers for a playoff spot. And then you had Justin Herbert and now Russell Wilson and, of course, Patrick Mahomes. And then everybody kind of didn't do that well. And you fast forward a couple years, and now you look at the AFC West, and every single team is coached well. Antonio Pierce is a guy I believe in. I think he did a great job. Harbaugh, he is going to succeed. That's why this news sucks. This doesn't suck because the Chargers hired a good coach and it might work out. This sucks because, in my opinion, this guarantees that the Chargers are going to be a playoff team for the next 6 years. And I do think it's going to happen that quick. So it does suck. Who is Jim Harbaugh? Well, everything that he touches works. Everything. And he did have an interview with Atlanta that was supposed to be taking place in the next coming days. The Chargers wanted to see if they could get a deal done before that interview happened, so he doesn't even have to catch that flight. And that interview is canceled. So new head coach, he's the new man in charge. There's going to be certain things that we learn in the next coming days, like money, how much power he's going to have, who the GM's going to be. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of more information as it goes on. But what we know now is Jim Harbaugh, he was great with the 49ers, took him to a Super Bowl. In Michigan, 89-25, but 40-3 in his last 3 seasons. And he was in the Final Four for the last 3 straight years. 3 straight Big Ten titles, AP Coach of the Year, 2023 National Champions. The Vikings tried to get Harbaugh a couple years ago, and Florio reported that there was a lot of interest from Jim to take that job, but there was, somewhere along the lines, they weren't on the same page. And then last year, the Denver Broncos, after firing Nathaniel Hackett, they were so interested in Jim Harbaugh that actually the ownership group flew to Michigan. They flew to Ann Arbor to interview him, right? And just talk, just to see if it was a possibility. That shows how interested. Mind you, this was even after Sean Payton was interviewed for the Broncos. So this is a guy that anybody in the NFL, if they were to get, massively improves their franchise immediately. I really think that the Chargers are going to have a lot of success with Jim Harbaugh. Now, one thing that people are saying is that Jim, he likes to run the football. He likes to have the tight ends involved. He's not a air it out, throw for 4,000, 5,000 yard seasons. That's not who he is, but he is a winner, but not an argument there. And he wants a Super Bowl. Excuse me. I just drank a protein shake. He wants to win a Super Bowl. So Michigan actually was prepared to make him the highest offer in college football, period. He was good. So this move has nothing to do with money. This movie, because the question is, okay, well, why do you pick the Chargers? So that's kind of what I'm going through now. He wants a Super Bowl. And if you actually listen to Harbaugh talk about a national championship, it's kind of like, yeah, it's an accolade, you add it to the resume, but it's not a Super Bowl. And he looks at it like his brother has a Super Bowl and he wants to sit at the big boy table with the rest of the family with the Super Bowl ring. Justin Herbert, we already know that is an attractive part of the job, having a great quarterback. Now, Herbert has maybe been the product of really bad coaching. A lot of people have been comparing him to a guy like Dan Marino. So for Herbert, you forget about throwing for 5,000 yards. Do you want to be known as Dan Marino, or do you want to get Super Bowl rings? Because we bring up Dan Marino a lot when we're talking about really great players that just couldn't get to the big game or win the big game. So that is a big reason that he decided to go with the Chargers. He's been in California before, San Francisco, of course, almost a decade ago when they fired him. And then the 49ers tried to say that it was a mutual separation. It turns out that it wasn't. They fired him. And it worked out because they have Kyle Shanahan. But at the end of the day, Harbaugh is a guy that they were really dumb for firing. And sometimes there's these power struggles. Harbaugh is a guy that likes to have control. Like I said, we'll find out more in the next couple of days here how much control he's going to have. But I would imagine he's going to have a lot. He is going to be very involved in every decision. He'll probably have a huge say in who gets hired as the general manager. He's turned around every franchise that he's ever gone to. Michigan couldn't beat Ohio State. Harbaugh, they beat Ohio State. They won a national championship. They made it to the big game. And they were in the Final Four, like I said, for the last 3 years. So this ownership group, the Spanos family, Jim Harbaugh knows really well because he was a quarterback with the Chargers. And he's been very open about how he's a huge Herbert fan. He's a huge fan. And I think it's really going to work out. Now, they came to common ground on all those elements that we said in the infrastructure within the organization. These are conversations that happened today, and they came to an agreement. And Jim Harbaugh is probably going to make the top 5%, if not the highest salary. He's going to be up there. He's going to have a say in how everything runs. And now I'm going to get out of the numbers and the reporting. I'm just going to tell you how I feel about this whole thing. We do have Crafty in here from the outhouse to the penthouse. I can say Harbaugh's name right, and it's because the Broncos interviewed him last year. That's when I had to learn, right? Because you can't not know your potential head coach's name, and now he's going to be our rival. So yeah, the firing of Jim Harbaugh was the dumbest firing since Jimmy Johnson. I can agree with that. But we look at this now and we say to ourselves, okay, this is gonna be tough. This is gonna be tough for Bronco fans. This is gonna be I think it's gonna be an immediate impact. I really do. I think that this is going to change a lot about the Chargers. And we actually, not just our channel, but the whole world has, you've heard of the term chargering, right? Chargering is part of the Chargers' identity. When they go into a big game, we say, oh, they're going to charger, meaning they're going to collapse in big moments. They're going to have a big lead and they're going to find a way to piss it away. That's what charging means. And when you have that kind of a label on a franchise, you need a guy like Jim Harbaugh to come in. You need a very, I guess, somebody to come in and just totally change the culture, like not Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, but how Urban Meyer was in Florida. These coaches, and the difference between a guy that had college success like Urban Meyer is that Jim Harbaugh's already had success in the NFL. So we don't even have to fake a concern in that way. Jim is the guy for this job. I hate to say it as much as it sucks. The Chargers have an identity crisis. They don't know who they are. And like I said, that term chargering, that is not just years, but decades of just not showing up for big moments. So they needed to hire a big personality. I know some people don't like him. He wants too much power. The bottom line is Jim Harbaugh is a very successful coach, and everything he touches works. It doesn't matter. And you don't have, and that's kind of part of, I won't even say our culture, but we really, we spend a lot of time on, whether we like somebody or not. Who cares? He's a football coach. He's going to come in. He's going to coach the Los Angeles Chargers. He's going to change their culture. He's going to bring the fullest potential out of Justin Herbert. They're going to get rid of the term chargering. And even if they do keep saying chargering, it's probably going to turn into a good term, like, oh, they're chargering. That means they're getting ready to blow you out. Like, this is a huge, huge hire. And you look at Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and you go, it's the always happening conversation, Belichick and Brady. Is Patrick Mahomes good because of Andy Reid? Is Andy Reid just benefiting from the superstar that Patrick Mahomes is? And it's always a little bit of both. Now, Justin Herbert, he's going to be, I really think, whatever we've seen from him since he came into the league and surprised everybody, throwing for all those yards, breaking all those records. What if we haven't even seen the fullest potential of Justin Herbert? Staley was a terrible head coach. I think it's safe to say, and I think most people would agree. Staley wasn't it. You're blowing a 27-0 lead at halftime. The fact that he wasn't fired in that moment, it's like, why stick with the guy? Because sometimes these ownership groups, they get so stubborn in their decisions. Like, no, this has to work. It's like they're gambling, but they're gambling with a fan base. And then that's another thing. The Chargers don't even have a fan base. They don't have a huge following. This is Los Angeles. This is Justin Herbert. You got cool uniforms. Like, there's so much to be attracted to about the Chargers, yet you don't even have a strong following. That is why you need a guy like Jim Harbaugh to come in and shake everything up. Give people a reason to want to support the Chargers. Give people a reason to want to go to the games. And interestingly enough, Jim Harbaugh deciding to be in the AFC means that he's going to play his brother a minimum of once every 3 years. But assuming both teams have success, there's potential playoff matchups that are going to be happening. If they finish in the same, I guess, seeding in their division. So if they finish second in the AFC West and the Ravens finish second in the AFC North, then they would play every year if that happened every year. So we're going to see that matchup a lot. The bottom line is I think the NFL is better with Jim Harbaugh in it. It's more entertaining. This is a win-win for everybody besides the Raiders, Chiefs, and Broncos, right? That part of it really does suck. And I think what we thought the AFC West was going to be a couple of years ago, it might turn into that. It might, and I'm not going to even say it because it feels dumb at this point, but try to find a better coach division. Sean Payton, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh. I know Antonio Pierce hasn't made a name for himself yet, but those three coaches in the same division, 6 games between those three teams, this is going to be very, very difficult for the Chargers too. But Jim Harbaugh has had the most recent success from between him and Sean Payton. And Mr. Animal Man in the chat, I wish the Hawks took him. Yeah, man. And he was going to go do other interviews, and you got to credit the Chargers for being like, no, dude, you're not leaving here without getting offered a contract. And they were able to do it before the Atlanta interview. But this division is going to be really tough next year. Herbert is in great hands. The whole entire team is. And I think this is kind of the spark that the ownership group needed. If I had any kind of ownership stake in the Chargers, I would be trying to hire a big name like that. Like, we need somebody, and not even Bill Belichick. They don't need a defensive guy. And I know Jim's not like this offensive guru by any means, but he knows how to structure a team. He knows how to have the team disciplined, no pre-snap penalties. He has time management down. He's not going to make bad decisions. His players love him. How many Michigan players did you see crying in interviews when they were talking about the suspension? They suspended him, and you got all these Michigan players in tears, literally crying because of how much they love Jim. And man, I just think if anybody cares that much about their coach, that coach is doing something massively right. And I've had coaches that I can't stand, that treated us disrespectful, that thought it was cool to be like, just a kind of like, I don't know what word to use, but a piece of shit, right? Just like, it's like Friday Night Lights when they're playing in that last game and the team's dirty, and that coach is like sucking on his lollipop, like laughing, and like, I've had a coach like that, and I've had a coach like Jim Harbaugh that actually, if there's something wrong, he's going to come ask you, hey, what's wrong? If you don't have food, he's going to go to the grocery store and pay for your groceries. Like, that's just, he'll take his shirt off his back for his players. I wanted him last year. And I think every team, and I see Mr. Animal Man right here said, I wish the Hawks took him. I bet, Atlanta must be fucking pissed because they were about to get him interviewed. And there were reports saying that there was actually interest in that Atlanta job, probably because he would have been closer to family being in Atlanta. But he is going to be back in California, in Los Angeles, by my friend Bill, who's in the chat. He said, my guy Brandon Brown was there today interviewing for the GM job as the Harbaugh news dropped. That is interesting. So I'm thinking that in the next couple of days, there's going to be a lot of other decisions that ripple from this one. But this was the big one. It is a massive, massive W for the Chargers. This was the one coach, if you're a Broncos, Chiefs, or Raiders fan, this is the one coach that you did not want to get hired. And, it does make you wonder, like, why did Jim want the Chargers job? And how come the Broncos job last year wasn't entertaining? I really think a lot of it comes down to Justin Herbert. Like I said, Jim Harbaugh has been very open about how he feels about Herbert. And let's be real. What vacancy is open right now with a better quarterback? Like Seattle has Geno Smith. Atlanta has whoever they draft. The Patriots already got their new coach, in Gerard Mayo, and they're going to draft their quarterback. So you go down the list. The Panthers. Why would he want to go to the Panthers? He coached college. I don't think Bryce Young's going to work out. I really don't. And really, if you had to take your pick between those two, Justin Herbert and Bryce Young, everybody's going to go with Justin Herbert. Very, very rarely is a quarterback of Justin Herbert's quality an available option. Very rarely is there a vacancy for head coach on a team with a quarterback at that caliber, because normally, if you're a shitty head coach and you have a quarterback as good as Justin Herbert, he hides a lot of your flaws as a head coach because he's that good, right? Imagine a bad head coach came in Andy Reid's place. Patrick Mahomes could probably do a pretty good job of, hiding some of the blemishes, but this is one of those jobs that happens maybe once every 10 years, maybe less than that. And I think Jim knew that, if I'm going to win a Super Bowl, I'm going to have to move up to the big leagues. 2, weather's beautiful. It's Los Angeles, big market, big money, brand new stadium, star quarterback. I could go on and on. And number 3, he just won a national championship with Michigan. So there is a chapter closed. There's a feeling of closure that I think has come over Harbaugh, where it was time to turn the page. So they say if you're not growing, you're dying, right? I really think Jim is so fixated on a Super Bowl that after winning the national championship, he couldn't, on a personal level, justify staying in college football. There was nothing more for him to achieve in that space. And Mr. Animal Man, I see your comment right here. Who are you a fan of? I am a Denver Broncos fan. I know you can't see that, but I'll give you the angle right there. But yes, I am a Broncos fan, so Broncos country. I don't know if we're going to ride next year, but it's going to be a lot harder to do it with Mr. Jim Harbaugh. Of course, tomorrow we are going to be giving you guys our predictions for the AFC and NFC championship game, but I had to jump on here. I had to jump on. I had to break this story. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. I'll let it breathe for a couple minutes before I close it in case there is any questions. Not questions, but I guess if you want my opinion on anything. But it is a done deal. Adam Schefter reported the news. And, another thing to think about, and we're not going to think about it too much because this is an NFL channel, but Michigan must be pretty torn up about this. Michigan was ready to make him the offer of a lifetime. Basically, you can be here as long as you want and you can make more money than any coach. And sometimes there's just what you're looking for in life in a particular season is not something that somebody can offer you. And that hurts, that hurts. But it's a business, and I think Jim needs to do whatever makes him happiest. And I do think that is what he's doing right now. Mr. Animal Man said, this is pretty big news, almost worse than Pete Carroll stepping down. Team SOS in the chat said, hey guys, what's up, Team SOS? What's your opinion on the time-space continuum? Have you seen the double slit experiment in quantum mechanics where light behaves like waves, and when you push the waves through the double slit, it creates an interference pattern? But when they shoot an atom through it, they go through the two slits. But then when you observe the atoms, they behave like waves, and they're aware and conscious of us observing them, which also means that information is traveling faster than light, which goes against what we've known our whole life. Um, I love watching these type of videos, but it really does just, for me, it just tells me that even if you feel like you know everything, there's just so much more that we don't know. Like, we know a fraction, and what we know is potentially all wrong anyway. It's called the double slit experiment. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely look it up. Team SOS said, can Jim Harbaugh get Justin Herbert over the mountain that Brandon Staley never could? Yes, he can. Michigan isn't you think about the current team that they have right now. They're not holding the number 1, 2, 3 top quarterbacks in the draft. I mean, look at Colin. He was in the Super Bowl with this team, and I think it was his first year starting that he took him to the Super Bowl. Jim's the kind of guy that he reminds me a lot of my high school coach, my high school football coach. His name was Coach Keith. He was the head coach at a school called Eagles View. It was a Christian school. We didn't go to that school. We were at the time homeschooled, but we knew coaches that were like doing a lot of college recruiting at that school. So we went to that school, and I remember meeting the head coach, and he had ALS. And when he shook my hand, his hand was like super, super weak. He was already losing his hands, and we didn't have a home field. We didn't have expensive weight rooms. In the school, just across the other district was a rich school, shiny helmets, brand new equipment. And he always said, a man shows who he is by what he does with what he has. And I mean, even though we had to even drive to a park, like a public park, just to practice, a high school team, no home field, every game is on the road. Even though we had to live like that, we really felt like we had something that no one else did. And Jim, to me, strikes me as that kind of guy where it's like, look, whether you give me, a 9 out of 10 roster, or you give me a 6 out of 10 roster, I'm going to squeeze the most juice out of my players. I'm going to get my players to play harder for me than they would anybody else. And just for that simple reason, I think it would work even if they didn't have Justin Herbert. The fact that they have Herbert and these pieces, Khalil Mack and Derwin James and young cornerback. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he had like 3 interceptions. He's the son of another legend. Can't remember his name, but there's just so many weapons on that team, and the Chargers should have been better for a long time. You can bet your bottom dollar they're going to be better with Harbaugh there. It's all relative, Crafty. Have you seen Stargate SG-1? Have I seen it? Are you talking about the pattern in the sky? Oh no, I'm thinking of Starlink. No. I haven't seen Stargate. Is that on YouTube? And you're right, that's on me. I did say you guys could ask me any question. Would you guys be interested in just like an open forum discussion without like any direction? That would be something I would be willing to explore. No, it's a show. Oh, okay. It's an old school sci-fi show. I'll check it out. Stargate. Team SOS says Brandon Staley had all his weapons and a defense with notable names, yet somehow he had no playoff success other than his playoff appearance, where he lost a huge lead versus the Jaguars. Yeah, and the fact that he wasn't fired after that game is inconceivable. So they roll with him another year, and sometimes it does feel like the ownership group is sticking with the coach when you already know who he is. I think I heard another quote one time that's like, when somebody shows you who they are, make sure that you receive it. And basically it's like, once you know who somebody is, you'd be a fool to wait for him to change. So I felt like Staley has just kind of had one foot out the door, not himself. He thought he was going to stay. He's like, I'm the guy to turn the job around. Do you remember that? That was his press conference after getting blown out by the Raiders. And that's what he said in his press conference. And he was like, I think he said, I'm not going to give a State of the Union on why I deserve to be the coach. And to be honest, like, it was a fair question. Like, why should you be the coach? Like, you just got embarrassed by a team that has an interim head coach and not a starting quarterback right now. Maybe he could be in the future, but they're definitely going to be looking at other options this year. So yeah, I felt like this was a delayed decision, but you know what, man? All the people that said, the Chargers are dumb. Why would they go with Staley one more year? He should have been fired immediately after the Jaguars game. What if the ownership group saw that the Broncos hired or fired Nathaniel Hackett? Remember, that happened on Christmas. And the Chargers lost to the Jaguars in the playoffs, the divisional round. I mean, the wild card round. So think about this. The Chargers, they know, hey, the Broncos are going to be looking for a head coach right now. They're probably going to, Jim doesn't look like he wants to coach. So what if they just waited? Like, what if they just waited until Harbaugh won a title at Michigan? What if they believed that McCarthy, or, I think that's his name, the quarterback for Michigan, what if this was all part of the plan? That's what I'm trying to say. What if this was all part of the plan? And we call this some kind of divine timing. And they purposely were like, nope, we're going to roll with Staley until this guy is available, because we know that when he is available, we're going to be the team to land him because of Herbert, because of LA, because of the stadium, because of all those things I just said. The Chargers, it's very strategic. And you think about how many times an organization feels pressured to make a decision, but then you're stuck with the guy. You're stuck with the guy for a couple of years. Like, imagine if Nathaniel Hackett didn't have an abomination of a season, right? That was one of the quickest firings in NFL history. But just think about this for a second. If Nathaniel Hackett does a pretty good job, let's say he goes 9-8, pretty mediocre, but not bad enough to fire him, there's no Sean Payton. So in a way, you're almost grateful for the Nathaniel Hackett terrible seasons because it led to Sean Payton. And I feel like that's probably how Charger fans feel right now. And the ownership group might know a little more about the long-term plan that potentially was going on behind the scenes while we were all bitching about Staley still being a head coach. They're playing chess. We were playing chess. They were playing chess. We were playing checkers. It maybe something like that was going on. And maybe I'm giving the Chargers too much credit. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. That's entirely possible. But whether it was coincidence or intentional, it worked out in the end. And that's really all that matters. And yeah, man, with that, definitely check out our predictions tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to have me and Rick going at it. Choice word selection there. Me and Rick are going to be going at it. I don't know another word to say, because I you know how those prediction episodes get a little feisty. So me and Rick are going to give you our predictions. We may agree, we may not. I have a feeling we won't, especially considering I know how he feels about a couple teams and he knows how I feel about a couple teams. But this is going to be our final prediction episode for until the Super Bowl. So we added a couple segments. We got a couple surprises for you guys, some stuff that we don't normally do, but we wanted to make this episode extra special for you guys. So please check it out. We will be going live at 9 p.m. Central Time, 10 p.m. East. And Bill, for you, it's going to be 7 p.m. So hopefully you guys can all make it. We've been doing great, man. We've been crushing it. So just wanted to hop in here and give my thoughts, my feelings. If I had to sum it all up, it would be shit. That's how I felt when it came across my screen. Rick was actually the one to text me. He goes, Jim Harbaugh, Chargers, and I was like, that's exactly what I responded. Oh shit. Well, I'm wearing my thoughts on my sleeves tonight, and I'm sure I'm going to open up my Broncos chat really quick before I let you guys go, and I'm going to see if they've said anything about it as well. Let's see. No, maybe I'll be the one. What do you guys think of Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers? There we go. Well, I will update you on that tomorrow. I'm actually going to make a poll tonight. And then tomorrow we'll give you the results. We're going to poll the AFC and the NFC championship game. And we'll give you we'll give you those numbers tomorrow. The movie was great. In Checkers, no one is a pawn and everyone is a king. Crafty, in this life, you're a king. Mr. Animal Man, movies. And we love movies. Me and Rick love movies so much that we could probably do like a Q&A segment just on movies, like not even football related. We'd probably have to do something like that in the off season. But I'm totally down. I'll talk to Rick about it. So guys, please check out our episode tomorrow. Bill, Crafty, Mr. Animal Man. We had Team SOS in here. Thank you guys for coming in. And Broncos country, like I said, it's going to be a little more difficult to ride, but I am determined. This is our season to get back on that donkey, baby. We're gonna ride, whether Jim Harbaugh likes it or not. Sean Payton is the second best coach in the division right now. Andy Reid's a little bit ahead of him. Sean Payton, I'm riding or dying with him. Don't know who our quarterback is yet, so it's kind of tough, but I'm just gonna believe, and hopefully we get some answers pretty soon. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to my reaction to the news, and I hope to see you guys all tomorrow. See ya!